Good afternoon. My name is Alun, and this evening I'm facilitating a game of Knights Black Operators. This is my effort to run games in the Knights Black Agent setting using the Operators role-playing rules. And I'm just checking that it does appear to be streaming, so I'm gonna carry on. I'm going to say very little. You can see the setup in the first of this two-shot, which we played last week. A quick reminder that we are using the X card as a safety tool, and we also have some lines and veils in place. Again, you can find the details of that in the previous episode. Our fourth player will join us when his technical issues are solved. Where we got to is that the team, after a tip-off, obtained a copy of a letter from Abraham van Helsing, dated 1908, along with a translation by members of the British Intelligence Service, dated 1948, and a commentary on that translation. And so I think what I want to do is to give our players a chance to introduce themselves, and then we'll get straight into the action. So, as always, in the order of the character keeper, Will, would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us something about Harrison Blake and something you remember from the last session?
So my name is Will, pronouns he, him. I'm playing Harrison Blake, pronouns he, him, and he is a British ex-SIS MI6 agent who was burned by the agency after uncovering links between the vampires and the Tory party. And last session, we were actually in London, and we had a nice meeting with a woman named Markov, who got promptly shot in the head and set us on our path to Strasbourg and the letter that we've uncovered.
Thank you for that. Lowell, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about Unjung Ri?
So Unjung Ri is a Korean American working for the NSA, operating in Europe, essentially turning Asian assets, Asian operatives, especially North Korean assets in Europe over. And in the process of that, got burnt, still uncertain exactly what happened there. Last time, to sort of follow up on what Will said, we took that phone that we had cracked from Markov, and that is how we were able to kind of put the screws to the antiquities dealer, that we had evidence of his phone call to her, and that's when we pressured him, and he handed the letter to us before meeting an untimely demise. So that's what I remember.
Yes, you are leaving a chain of bodies behind you. Finally, Einar, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about Nadia?
Hi, Einar, pronouns he, him, playing Nadia, Norwegian ex-intelligence service person, got burned for spouting conspiracy theories about occult stuff. Last time, well, we got in a couple of shootouts. Nadia killed some people. And both our potential marks got killed in the process of our trying to meet with them. So it's a bloody business.
It certainly is. That conspiracy is clearly well supplied with both information and goons. But you did get a copy of the Van Helsing letter. So I'd like to kick off, please, with you back at the safe house that you've identified in Strasbourg with the letter. And I think for the purposes of this, we'll have our fourth character, Behrouz Esfahani. We'll have Behrouz located outside the safe house where he can keep a watch on anyone who's getting close. But before we get into that, I'd like each of you to tell me something about how the safe house is protected. So can I go back the other way? Start with Nadia. How is the safe house protected, Nadia?
I think so. The first layer of protection is that it's not on any maps. It's well, it's a sort of forgotten contract building.
Thank you for that. So no one's going to find this on Google, and I dare say Harrison has tidied up any loose ends. Unjung, what's the other thing that makes this a safe place?
I imagine it used to be one of those sort of false front buildings that was used to vent things from underground tunnels and things like that, and that has been closed off. But it does mean that it's sort of behind several layers of other buildings that are kind of a facade. Even if they knew where we were, they'd have to get through those.
Thank you for that. And finally, Harrison, what's the other thing that makes this a safe house?
The fact that it's got a set of extremely strong doors, and all the windows have been boarded up, so it's extremely defensible in case anyone does actually come. Okay.
So I can imagine you. I'm guessing Harrison has all his equipment set up, and you have the letter. So what do we see in this scene?
I think Harrison is like flicking through the letter, like looking through the letter on the table and looking at his phone, and he's like, anyone understand what the hell is going on about here? The Nax era. I mean, feeds on the corpses of their family members out of rage. What are we supposed to do? I mean, Van Helsing, wasn't he from a book? Anyone?
That's certainly my understanding from high school lit class. There are locations, there are keywords. If this is encoded, because this would have been 1948, right? This is Cold War. Maybe there's some coding in that. There's at least places we can follow up on. We need to run, because I don't know Europe. I don't know what, a lot of these things are.
I think you're 40 years out there. I think it was 1908. So this is pre-war.
No. Oh gosh, you're right. I'm just looking at the 1948 at the top. You're right that it's from 1908.
Yeah. So this is even before the Nazis. So, I mean, apparently, I didn't know this, but the Germans were up to all kinds of crap anyways. They need the Nazis to send them off the deep end. But I mean, what? We're looking at Glockenstein, Schloss Glockenstein, somewhere near Czech.
Let's assume it's a place or a resource or something that a target that Van Helsing is talking about. The commentary by Scarlet Dragon Pursuivant. That's a very great name. Seems to suggest that this was in the Soviet territory, Nazi territory, and the Nazis are involved with it. The question, I guess, is whether these sites have been compromised by them or whether they're still in operation. It's 111 years ago.
I mean, they're this Van Helsing chap's asking whoever he's writing to take down this Naxera thing. I mean, like you say, 100 years. Either someone did it or it's long gone.
Luckily, Saxony now is, I mean, that's a more open territory. I think at the very least we need to start getting some GPS maps, some Google Maps of the area, figure out where this retreat and this Schloss Glockenstein, I don't know how you say that.
That's Schloss, like beer Schloss. Yeah, like beer Schloss, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, the Keilberg retreat.
I'd like to see if I remember anything, any mentions of these keywords in any of the documents I had access to during my time at the intelligence service.
Well, I think that probably is a no. Roll to no, Nadia.
Yeah, 3 minuses and 1 plus. I have 1 in no, so 3 complicated.
The connection that springs immediately to mind is you do remember mention of that the resort or the Keilberg retreat, and that's what you remember from the briefing. It is it's a health farm come clinic come sanitarium for celebrities now. But you came across it because it had a fairly checkered history. During the Soviet occupation, there were some fairly clear indications in intelligence circles that it was used to house psychiatric patients. The complication is that the first complication is that it does appear to be a very, very, very select location now. The members of the public don't walk into the Keilberg retreat. People are invited in, or you have to have some kind of social cachet or celebrity status to get a berth there. The other 2 complications I will just store up.
Getting in, I'm not too worried about. I have some ideas on that. Harrison?
Well, I was just wondering whether I might be able to use a no roll to see what I might know about His Majesty's pursuivants, as it is His Majesty's.
Yeah, I won't make you roll for that because they're a joke. They're a joke in MI6 and MI5. They're supposed to have this bizarre charter granted by Elizabeth I that made them protectors of the realm. But no one has heard very much of them since the Second World War. So they're more myth than they are reality to the intelligence community.
Well, lads who wrote this, they're like a ghost story. I hear tell there's this northern nutter who wanders around York with these 2 lunatics solving problems with fairies. It's all a bunch of nonsense. But I mean, we know that there's something weird going on, right? And if it says things like it can change shapes into animals, it can pursue through shadow, the only way to kill it is to place a coin in its mouth and remove the head, and it'll kill anybody who hears church bells when they ring, and that it likes the taste of family. And he mentions this girl, this Miss Harflich from Bucharest. That's a lead we should follow up.
I think that's actually job 1. They suggested that there's a family connection, there's a family importance there. We need to find out if there are Hafliks in Bucharest or if we can track anything down. So I think that's job 1. It's big.
Well, let me
online search.
Yeah, let me put some code some bots together, and I'll do a search of all the databases, see what we can find out. Can I make a no roll for that, Alan?
I think that's probably hack, isn't it?
Yep. Hey, 3 pluses. So I get 1 success, 1 complication, and 2 advantages. So I will cancel out that complication with one of those advantages, and I will take the other advantage to...
Well, do you want the basic first?
Yeah,
Then
give me
you
the basic,
can-
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you will find a family called Haflich in Bucharest. And it appears that the only one in the recent phone book is an Eva Haflich, aged about 20. And the advantage I'll give you, if you want it, well, you can define it or I can. What do you want to do?
You decide it.
She went missing 3 months ago. She's listed as missing persons with Bucharest police. But it looks like the case has been closed.
It's a bit of a dead end unless we schlep all the way to Bucharest.
Pictures of her?
I think I can provide.
That's a shame. She's got cracking hair.
She's an art student of some kind.
Is there in the police report, is it just missing, or is there a suggestion of foul play or anything on that score?
I think it's fair to say that the report that Harrison can pull up with that advantage, if he'd hang on to the second advantage, I might be able to give you more meat on this. But I think that on the basis of that one, it looks like the case has been closed by Bucharest police with a kind of a note that says something like believed to have moved abroad.
Can I retrospectively accept the extra complication, Alan?
Well, that's a brave man. You already have 5 in the pot. I'll happily make that 6.
Yep.
Yes, it. And the thing that is unusual, I think, is that when probably Nadia has a look at the reports that Blake can pull off, it's fairly clear that this file has been filleted and sanitized, and just tied up with a bow.
So it looks like they got their fingers in Bucharest as well.
Here's another possible resource that we should look into that I want to examine is we have this phrase, hidden in the tunnel near Kielburg all those years ago. This would be 1908. He's writing from Amsterdam. You know, I doubt that it's still there, but I want to see if I can research to see what that might mean, what it would correspond to that area, and if there's anything intact around there.
Yeah,
I think
sounds about right.
I think that's probably no again, Unjung, unless you've got another suggestion.
No, and I did swap around to bring my no to a 1. So I'm going to reroll selected. I've got a plus and 2 minuses, so that's 2 complications.
I've put those in the pot. But yes, I think probably the most obvious reference that you can find is to there is a castle near Kielburg. It's a ruined castle that looks like that, called Schloss Glockstein. And in the 1800s, there was a mine. If you imagine going behind that outcropping, there was a mine workings, which were closed after a mine disaster in which a large number of people, a large number of miners were killed.
So we have a choice of trying to go into this retreat, this wellness center, which is perhaps plays to our strengths. On the other hand, if there's a useful resource at the ruins, that's ugh.
I might be missing something, but other than the fact that it's in Kielberg, sorry, what's the significance of the retreat? I'm not spotting it in the letter anywhere.
It is the Kielberg retreat is mentioned in the commentary.
In the commentary, aye.
And then let's see. I thought it appeared in the original letter, right?
And it's that which I left hidden in the tunnel near Kielberg all those years ago.
Oh, okay.
So maybe these Persuasion chaps knew something a bit more about the Kielberg retreat than we can get in this section of the commentary. Maybe it was where Unternehmen Braun was operating from, perhaps, this German vampire program.
What does unter that word? What does that mean?
Under something Brown.
The commentary suggests that Unternehmen Braun was a pre-Nazi German vampire program. I have to say, I've not looked up Unternehmen Braun. If somebody wants to do a direct Google translation, that's fine. Perhaps the fact that I've not checked that might tell you something about...
It's just Brown Company. That's all it is.
Just allowed the curtain to fall then. I do apologize. Yeah. I will just remind you of one other thing. Do you remember that we had an outtake of our villain?
Yes.
It's always worth reminding ourselves who our villain is. In a Paris apartment on a telephone, telling someone to send the package to the clinic. And I just wonder if now is a good time for another outtake to visit our villain.
I would love that. Can we do finish up this bit in character though? Because I don't want to keep on metagaming like the flash, the cutaways, like the clinic, of course, as we break the fourth wall with our hacking skills. So my vote is that we check out the castle first, because if it contains the supplies via Van Helsing or anything, it might give us more of a steer, and also that it won't require us to become visible to the enemy in some way, where like we don't know what's going to be in the tunnel, right? But we know for a fact that there's going to be people at the retreat, which is our key target probably, like in terms of our skills, but it's also the one where we make contact with the enemy potentially, and the longer we can put off making contact, the more we can find out before we get there. That's my vote.
I have caves, tunnels, mines. This has absolutely no appeal to me. I've seen horror movies. I know where this ends. But
it's all right. We got Baruz here. He's going to take care of anything that pops his head around the corner.
Nadia, what do you think?
It does sound like this castle was Van Helsing's destination, right? That's when he went missing, was after he went to the castle, and he left something at the clinic before that. So if we are to sort of trace Van Helsing's steps, as it were, it might be a good idea to check out the clinic first before we encounter whatever sinister force he might have encountered at the castle.
How about this? Let's get boots on the ground in the area, and let's see what we can figure out about where this cache might be, about where this tunnel might be, if it is more connected to the ruins or if it's more connected to the clinic. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
And I have a plan, which after our cutaway, I'll talk about.
Fine, and in that plan, there is a structure in the system about defining the nature of that plan to sharpen it up. So we'll try to run this as a proper operation. But yes, let us cut to the apartment that we've seen before, with its great view across Paris, and the Grand Masters on the wall, which we know are the real thing, not the Mona Lisa that's in the Louvre, but the real Mona Lisa. And we see the clinical glass and steel desk that is anachronistic in this setting. And we see our villain, and again, to remind our thousands of viewers, that is our villain. And he is in the room with someone. It is a man. They are speaking French, and the man says, I can only apologize. We were only expecting the old man, nothing else. What tells you how angry our villain is? Can we start with, I haven't started with you yet, Eunjung. So Eunjung, what tells us how angry our villain is?
I think that we see the general body language seems loose, except for the left hand, like the fingers are held more tightly together. The camera probably lingers on that for a bit. That they are held taut, like waiting for something.
What excuse? No, sorry. So the man says, Monsieur, there was nothing. There was literally nothing we could do. The fire alarms went, and we lost them in the panic. But we've done what we can to get the authorities to pursue them. Nadia, what does Monsieur say in response to that?
The authorities, eh? So you are afraid to do your own dirty work?
No, Monsieur, not at all. It's just that we wanted to put as many obstacles in their way as possible. Blake, what does Monsieur then do?
I think that he. Well, I don't know. I was going to say he clicks his fingers and a shadow from the darkness sweeps down and eats the guy alive. But maybe it's not that stage of the vampire thing. No, I think he shoots. He clicks his fingers and another guy steps up behind him and shoots him in the head.
Yeah, there is a silenced foot, and the failed attempt to obtain the letter. The man responsible crumples to the ground, and the poo and the blood soaks in to this Louis XV carpet. Such is this man's wealth. The man with the gun, is it a man or is it a woman? Eunjung?
Oh, it has to be a woman. I can't hear you. Alan, you're muted.
Thank you. If you want to peruse the image board for later, we can perhaps find the female assassin who might crop up later in the story. Monsieur then says, I don't believe that will work. I know that it's a risk, but I think we have to advance the program. And then we cut back to you. Where do we see you next?
Can I make a suggestion that we got a camper van as our sort of mobile safe house?
Well, we know Blake has a thing for vans, so yeah, okay. You have a camper van.
Yeah, a nice refurbished VW wagon.
And where do we see this parked? It's quite a big camper van because it needs to fit not only somewhere for the three of you, but also Blake's equipment, of course.
Yeah. On the side of the road, near.
Oh, I assume we're at a campsite.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, this is a lovely chance to have a vacation in Saxony. I hear Saxony is lovely this time of year.
Unjung, are you in the van or outside when Markov's phone rings?
I am in the van going over the project that I've been working on for the last, 100 miles or 100 kilometers or so. And I will check the caller ID.
Unknown.
I'll turn to Harrison and I'll say, have you cut it so that if I enter the phone, they can't trace the signal?
Please, what do I look like?
Okay.
Yeah, I think the signal is still being bounced through parts of South America, isn't it?
Then I will answer the phone. Oh, wait, let me ask you this. Whose voice sounds closer to Markov's? Is it mine or Nadia's?
I think given your experience at being other people, I think you are more likely to pull off a proper British accent than Nadia is.
Okay. Then I will answer the phone and with a simple sort of go.
There's a pause, and then you hear dung, dung.
I hang that phone up.
It's a good job you didn't have that on speakerphone.
Yes, there we go.
Nadia, where are you?
I'm sitting outside on a sort of, collapsible stool, drinking a cup of coffee, watching the fishes.
And I think that my assumption is that it's in the evening because that's when you park up, isn't it? And as Nadia, as you're sat outside, you can see. Am I getting feedback from somewhere, or is that a dog or a cat? Oh, it's gone. Oh, sorry, I know. As Nadia is sat outside the camper van, another camper van comes into the campsite, and the headlights scan across Nadia and your camper van. And we see Nadia illuminated for a moment as the van pulls in next to yours. Inside the camper van, of course, all you see is the headlights illuminating first Blake, then Unjung, and then leaving the inside of the van in shadow. Unjung, what do you do when you notice the other person who's now in the van?
I'm sorry. Did you just say that there's another person now in the van?
Yes. They just, as that light cast across the back of the van where you're sitting, it illuminated you, leaving the space behind you in deep shadow.
Then the knife comes out of my boot. I get into a knife fighting stance, and I move forward defensively to try and keep myself between this person and Harrison.
Okay. The figure,
because Harrison is not a fighter.
No, he is not. And Baruz has remained in Strasbourg because he needs to keep track of any other leads that might come through that location, because you're only scouting this out after all. So the knife is out. The figure in the corner of the back of the van is you would have said he was an aged, a wrinkled, wizened figure, dressed in rags, who bares his teeth and leaps at you.
Okay. I get my stance together to try and at least get this knife into him when his body impacts into me.
Okay, then shall we have you fight?
Yes. Okay, roll for your party. Oh, by the way, I have to ask you a question. You had said last time that like the training discipline, those are session based. Do those clear for those checks for us?
Sorry, the trademark, they all come back.
Okay.
The other ones, I'll give you a chance in a moment to have a bit of a flashback.
All right. So I will go to roll for the party. I will re-roll my dice. Come on. 2 successes and a minus. You muted? Take a drink.
In what order do you want to narrate those? Because the pluses are hits you make on your assailant. The minuses are hits it makes on you. He makes on you. Sorry.
So I think that the his hit on me is the first thing. Like he impacts into me, and he probably has more bulk than I would have expected.
Yes, he is unusually strong. You tell that from the first contact.
And so I'll take that hit.
So mark a point of physical stress, it sounds like.
Okay. And then the second thing is I do use his momentum to twist and bring him down to the ground to make it harder for him to move past me. And I'm going to put that knife try and put it through one of his hands and into the other to get them stuck together.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, and so it goes through there into the bed of the camper van, and then the blank is an exchange that doesn't do any net harm to anybody.
Struggle back and forth.
And then the final plus that you want to apply
is let me see here. Got that there. I think it has to be me dropping the hand off the one, getting the other knife out, and essentially trying to put that in his mouth, like drive it in there to make it more difficult. If he's some sort of feral beast, make it more difficult for him to bite me.
There is certainly an air of feral about him. He smells of graveyards. There's no question about that.
During the blank, I do say, Harrison, get out, get Nadia.
I think that, well, can Harrison act?
Oh yeah, because that exchange is going on in that blank. Yeah. In the struggle, we'll see Unjung saying, "Get Nadia!" And you're in the front seat, I think.
Yeah, and I think before he leaves, Harrison is going to hit all of the lights on the internal, hit the button that turns on all of the lights on the internal panels. And
the inside of the van is flooded with light.
And he's going to scream, lean out the window and scream, "Nadia!"
I think heads around the campsite turn towards you. Nadia, what do you do?
I think I was actually right in the middle of calling Eva, so I just leave my phone on the stool and run towards the camper van and draw my gun and my flashlight. You're muted again.
Harrison is at the passenger side door at the front of the van. There are doors at the back. Which end do you go to?
So I'll probably go to the back, as Harrison's blocking the other door.
Fine. So in a moment, you're going to pull those doors open. A mechanical note, Unjung. You get, I've just checked, you get a temporary hand-to-hand stress if you force a change every 1 round, because your fight is 1. So if you move this fight somewhere else, then you'll have a bonus physical stress for this next round. Oh, now you're muted.
Interesting. Okay, I'll remember that. Now I think I'm going to hold the place there. I may try and move it out after this.
Alan.
Now you're muted.
I'm going to stay unmuted and worry about ambient noise later. So it's trying to pull the knife out of its hands and out of the bed of the van, while kicking and lashing at you, trying to reach you with its teeth. What do you do?
I think that I want to try now to essentially. I'm going to continue with. I know what I want to do. If I've still got that knife kind of holding its hands, trying to control it, I want to try to bring my knee up, and I want to use my knee like a hammer to drive the knife that's in its mouth down as best I can.
Okay, let's see how the dice fall out.
This would be a good time, roll for your party, to be on my side. Thank you, roll for your party.
So in which order do you want to? So it sounds like
when it first popped up, it was 3 pluses and a minus, and now it's 2 pluses and a minus.
Well, you took roll for your party for granted for a fraction of a second there.
Is it possible to use one of those pluses to negate his hit?
Well, you could. The blank is you mutually blocking.
Okay.
You don't have to use the plus for damage. You can use it as an advantage that you could hand off to somebody else.
Yeah, I think what I want to do is I want to use. I've got to move the situation. So I think I'm going to take that physical hit. I think we're going to struggle on the blank, and then I'm going to hit that knife that's in the mouth in a way that stuns him, and that's the point at which I'm going to kind of roll the fight to a better position where this body is upright to give my companion a shot.
Okay, so what I think I'm imagining is you've done 1 harm, one point of physical stress on him. He's done 1 on you, probably where your knee came up and struck that knife. It drives deep into the back of his throat, but it doesn't seem to be keeping him down the way that you might have hoped. Well, actually, no, you don't need to take any stress. I'm going to use his minus to pull his hands free.
Okay.
Okay. I will find out what Harrison is doing just before we go to Nadia, because I think that probably she is at the back about to open those back doors. Anything, Harrison?
I think Harrison will full-heartedly, I don't know how you say that, will attempt to help by, I think maybe like grabbing some of his cables and trying to like garrote the guy, like from behind, like trying to pull his head back away.
Okay. So the only trouble with that, I think, is that, as if I understood Unjung
Oh
right,
yeah.
she's trying to position him so when those back doors open, Nadia has a shot. So Unjung is between
Oh yeah.
her and him.
Well, in which case Harrison won't do anything because he won't get
Fire
into it. He'll know better than
extinguisher.
Ken.
Fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Okay, Nadia, you open the back of the van, and there is this creature with a knife buried in its chin, in its mouth, and bleeding, well, slowly leaking hands. And Unjung, what do you do, Nadia?
Could I have sort of a flashback to right before I open the doors? I have a flashback to one of those hostage or like a training session with where the I think maybe the SAS came we went on a field trip to England or something with the at Henderson and trained with some friends in the SAS, and there's this in one of those houses where they have like well, then there's a hostage situation simulation, and I remember talking to Eva about never being able to fire when even in simulations when I thought I might hit some of my friends, and Eva was telling me, if it was me there, I would trust you. And after that, on that training session, it was the first time I was able to pull the trigger in that sort of situation.
I think that what I think I'll do is two things. I think that's a nice setup for this, but I think it's probably the reason in the end that you ended up as an analyst rather than at the sharp end of wet work. So I think you can tick training to show that you have primed your analyst for the service. Yeah. So with complete confidence, you level the gun and do what?
Yeah, as soon as I see that Unjung and Harrison is not in my shot, I pull the trigger probably like 3 or 4 times.
Okay. This, of course, is silenced, because why would you not carry a silenced weapon? So we've got fut, fut, fut. Let's see how many of those futs go home.
That's 2 pluses and 2 minuses.
Okay, so 2 shots strike home, because your shoot is 1, isn't it? These, where were you aiming?
Center mass.
Okay, so 2 shots, bang, bang. And I think it's thrown back against Unjung. So they're on the ground now. That's one of the minuses I'm going to play. And I think the other minus I'm going to play is that now they're in a struggling mass on the ground. You don't have an obvious target. You really are at risk of hitting Unjung now. What do you do, Nadia? Because I think the spotlight has moved to you at this point.
So I have my flashlight. I'm assuming it's bright enough to see anyway. But
well, Harrison put all the inside lights on, so the inside of the van is brightly lit.
Excellent. Well, as when they're sort of down on the floor, I'm now sort of expecting the thing to be quite hurt, and I will sort of take a moment to take stock of the situation. and not do anything rash. So maybe I'll yeah, do a surveil or something.
I don't think you need to surveil for this. Any normal target would be dead. So while you're coming to that conclusion, Unjung, what do we see you doing? And I love saying you're muted.
I'm checking I'm trying to, in my brain. You can see the letter flashing by, and I'm like, okay. Then what I'm going to try and do is get a handful of various euro coins in my pocket, and I want to try and stuff them into this thing's mouth.
I think the closest I can come to that, I think it's either, I think it's move. I think it's how agile you are.
I have a really good steal, and I'm good at pickpocketing and brush passes.
So you are.
I will make an argument for that.
Delivering. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I know I'd go with that. By all means.
All right, let me roll for your party, grabbing this. And not those little, like, British hay pennies, like real euros, though.
Real money.
Oh. Plus, minus.
Now, your trademark, the insanely skilled brush, pass, and drops, you could use that to turn that into 4 pluses, or you could go with what you've got.
I'm going to use my trademark.
Okay, so untick that because it'll need to be primed again. And you cram a hand, because the mouth is wedged open because of the knife. So you cram a load of coins into the mouth. And that's you done. Blake, Harrison, what do we see you doing?
I think that Harrison is going to be swearing, and he's going to reach into the glove compartment and pull out one of the machetes that they brought for this particular encounter after reading that letter, and he's going to look at the mess, swear to himself, and launch himself right at the struggling figure.
Okay, so let's try. I've just realized I didn't use 2 of the complications from Unjung's. Oh no, you've got none because you used a special. So fine, let's have you fight then, Blake.
Cool. With my 3. That is 2 blanks and 2 negatives.
So
I was thinking maybe, what if I did a flashback to knife fighting at the MI6? It would only let me re-roll my negative ones, wouldn't it? So I could still never succeed on this, basically.
Well, remember that I think your training is as an SIS hacker and digital analyst. I think you probably did the long weekend at Sarat, and that was the last of that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've been at a desk ever since. So I will play that as it is. I'm going to give you 1 point of physical stress or mental stress, because up to you, because this is a very, very, very strange encounter.
I'll take a physical.
Okay, so you take 1 of physical stress, and the 2 negatives, I'm going to have it leap from the back of the camper van for one of them, and the second one, I'm going to have it race into the woods surrounding the campsite. Nadia, what do you do?
So it's basically fleeing now. Well, I am going to sort of chase it a little bit to see if I can, just to see where exactly it's heading, and also to sort of identify how fast it's moving now, despite all of all of the wounds.
Then there's a special kind of mechanic for chases. So you have to catch it in the amount of time you have before it gets away. So the better it is at move, the less rounds you have to do it in. And so I can tell you that its move is 1, and therefore you just have 2 rounds to catch it, and you roll using your move. So you have to accumulate a net number of positives equal to 2 within 2 rounds. Oh, hang on. What's your move? Sorry, I should have checked that. Oh, 3. You have to accumulate 6 positives in 2 rounds.
All right.
Because you are slow and it is fast.
So I'll just roll for the first round.
Yeah.
Pretty good. 2 pluses and 1 minus.
Muted, Alan.
Oh, so net +1.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to see any of those specials having application here.
Yeah. No. So yeah, I'm just trying my best here, I think.
Well, I mean, you have 1 plus. You have to achieve 6 by the end of these 2 rounds, which I think with 4 dice makes it pretty unlikely you're going to make it. So I think, what do we see as you chase it into this fringe of woodland? What do we see on screen? Because it is going to get away.
Yeah, so we see sort of a shot where of the Nadia standing at the edge of this wood, and the camera pans down to the stool where the phone is, and you hear just Nadia from the other.
And back at the van, then, what do we see as this particular scene kind of closes out?
I think Eunjung does that thing where she's on her back and she does that leap up to her feet that looks like crazy. And I'm out the back door. I grab the little like camping hand axe that we've got for chopping loose wood, and I'm running out, and if I see Nadia coming back, I come to a stop. Like, I'm not going to run out into the woods if she's coming back.
Yeah, I think you do see her coming back, and it not only did it take much more harm than any normal person should be able to, it did move with significant pace. And Nadia
ate 3 pounds worth of change in his mouth.
And
euros.
And I think that Nadia, you raced out and it was just gone. Harrison, anything before we close out that scene?
I think he stands up groggily to his feet and starts getting the car ready to move.
I think that's probably when somebody from the camper van next door leans in and says, "Are you all right?"
Oh, junkies, druggies, off in the woods.
Right. I'll make sure to keep the van locked tonight.
Yeah. Keep the van locked. Keep your lights on.
And so I think that bit of action, that scene, we close on. What do we see next? Oh, I tell you what. It's 10 past the hour. Shall we take a 10-minute break now? So back in our seats at 20 past the hour. Fine. See you then. I feel really sad Horst had to drop because of technical reasons, because he was very keen to see something supernatural happen.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think you're right. A chainsaw, that's what you need.
I was desperately trying to think of something I could use my fix for earlier. Like mounting a blade on one of the tires or something.
Yeah, anything mechanically or explosive related is allowed.
Have any of you run Night's Black Agents before?
I haven't. Lowell?
I've run Gumshoe before, but I haven't run Night's Black Agents. Though I did pick up, because Night's Black Agents has a lot of rules. Like Gumshoe has this many rules. Night's Black Agents has this many rules. But I picked up the new one-on-one Night's Black Agents, the solo op book, which is essentially the same thing as Cthulhu Confidential, but for Night's Black Agents. And Sherry wants to try it, so we're probably gonna try that out.
Yeah, I just never had the nerve to get to grips with all of those rules, I have to say. I mean, Gumshoe in itself is kind of enough. I've run Gumshoe a couple of times, but the additional stuff. You
can see how much Ken Hite is still a GURPS player at heart when you look at the Night's Black Agents rules. And I ran GURPS for years, so... But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And the double tap book goes, hey, if you liked the rules before, here's some more.
But I mean, it's a great premise, so really, this is about trying to see if we can get the premise to the table, if not the rules. Okay, I think probably a scene where you debrief. Or what's the plan? Because Harrison was all set to get the van going. I'm going to change campsites.
Oh yeah, I think we are at a it's morning, and we're at a tourist, German tourist cafe that is done up in all the little decorations and so on, and the
waiting staff are in lederhosen.
Absolutely. And I come in and I'm saying, all right, so what did we learn from that? I agree, power tools is an idea, but wow.
I'm sleeping with the light on.
Yeah.
So there's something to this vampire stuff.
It can get to wherever those church bells get rung to. I answered the phone, I heard the bells, and then it was there.
Through the shadows, yeah. Don't vampires, what is it, garlic crosses silver? Is that one of them? I mean, we need something to level the playing field, right? Like cutting its head off. That'd work on you or me.
It wasn't clear that putting the coins in the mouth weakened it. So, I mean, that's a process, but it's not something that helps. It's also different than the Stoker book. The Stoker book is you put garlic in the mouth, I believe, and cut the head off. But I'd have to go back. Coins? I mean, for the ferryman, you put the coins in the eyes. Why is it in the mouth? I don't understand.
clearly it is physical, so your efforts to trap it did work for a little while. If we could have something more robust, we could get it into a position to try cutting its head off, try with coins in the mouth without. We'll just,
I think there are a pair of handcuffs in the back of the car.
That's a good point, actually. If we can get some high quality restraints on it, we can use that to get an advantage. I'll start carrying that.
I just remember, you know that there's a vampire conspiracy.
Yeah.
And so I'm very happy for you to use your know skill to tap your networks. If we were playing Night Black Agents, this would be we'd be talking vampirology. So I'm very happy for you to tap your networks in terms of what you can find out of a Nachraiser, apart from what you've been given from the Pursuivant's commentary.
So we all have one in no.
Let's do it.
Should we all do a roll? And
Yeah, you do it first, Harrison.
Okay. I get 2 and a complication. I will remove the complication with my advantage. I don't want to be told something that doesn't work, basically.
Okay. I think that what you can find out from your network is that Nachraiser are creatures of instinct. They're not planners. They're more feral and animalistic than many species or types of vampire. Yeah?
Okay, so maybe we can lure it somehow.
Yeah, this means that we can trap it because we know it wants to kill us. We have the bait. We know it can be affected by physical restraints. Why don't we make the van into a trap?
Well, Unjung, Nadia, do you want to see what your conspiracy networks can throw up?
Yeah.
Sure. Could I use my trademark for this?
Roll the dice first, and then you could make a decision about whether you want to up them all to pluses.
All right. Okay, that's pretty good. So yeah, 3 pluses and 1 minus. I'll just keep that.
So do you want to cash that in for 4 pluses, or are you prepared to take that one as it is?
Well, you know what? Let's just do it.
Okay. So are you going to use one of the pluses to cancel that minus? And that leaves you with 2 things I can tell you.
Oh no, sorry. I meant I'll use the trademark.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Fine. So 4 pluses. Okay. What? You remember a briefing document that shouldn't have come your way, but did. And it's something that during the war, Norwegian intelligence, Norwegian resistance actually took off a senior German officer about some bizarre military program that appeared to be about this mythical Nachraiser. And I think what I can tell you is that it was quite clear that Nachraiser can't cross running water. It was quite clear that it can be deterred by crucifixes, sunlight, and garlic. Yeah, so those are your 4 bits of information from that briefing. Deterred, not destroyed. Keyword. Unjung, what about you? Do you want to tap your conspiracy networks?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see what happens here. Well, that's 3 minuses and a plus.
So Do you want to use that plus to get something useful and deal with three consequences, or do you want to use the plus to cancel the minus and leave me with just 2 minuses?
I'll take the 2 minuses.
Okay. I'll put that down as 2 more complications for you. Mechanically, just to make this clear, in Night's Black Agents, vampires have something called aberrance, which they spend to use their powers. Your complications power vampires in this version of the game. Just to reassure you, they aren't all powerful. They do have limits. Those limits are defined by you or your failures. So that's what you know about the Nachreza. I suppose the question is what you're going to do with that information.
Harrison is immediately going to go and paint crucifixes all around the inside of the van, and fashion whatever like hood ornaments and things to be little crucifixes and things like that. And then he's going to go by where are we? Like a roadside sort of dinery sort of place.
Yeah, it's a tourist cafe off a motorway in southern Germany.
Cool. He's going to go buy some garlic brot to eat, and he's going to maybe pop into the if there's like a convenience store attached there. He's going to buy as much like garlicky products as possible, basically.
Okay, so we're hoping that simply making the cross works. Begone, foul creature of the night, and we're hoping that garlicky products will make a difference, as well as that clove of garlic you've managed to obtain. Fine. Okay.
I would also suggest that we drive to a nearby village or town, and try and procure some actual garlic and actual crucifixes, perhaps.
If we find like a health food or a new age store, we can probably get aerosoled garlic. That might be one thing.
Weaponized aerosol garlic. I like the way you're thinking. Nice. Garlic grenades.
I will look at Nadia. I know that you know how to put stuff together. Maybe you can work with something on that.
Yeah, and I'll get to carving some crosses in my bullets as well.
I will also, since my character is probably South Korean Catholic, I will get a crucifix when we go in there, because I don't usually carry or wear that, but
fine. That sounds like a crucifix that might have a bit of oomph behind it. So with these protective measures in place, where are you going next? Where do we see the next scene? Because I think probably, do you want it to be early the following day? You were having breakfast in the cafe. It's now later in the day. How late in the day do you want it to be, or do you want to have made more progress across Germany?
How far are we from where we need to be?
You could get to Kielberg this evening if you pushed it.
Should we push? You're muted, low.
How about we don't get there in the evening?
Yeah.
But we get reasonably close, and then get there in the morning. That'll give us a chance to survey the area and do our sort of map surveying.
How does running water work? I mean, if we're in a building and you turn the taps on, aren't you kind of surrounded by water because of the pipes?
So you stand in the shower all night? I don't think that's work. I think that's the elemental force of a river is what they're talking about.
Yeah, but the problem with rivers is that they only go on one side of you.
I think you better stick to the garlic.
He breathes out a very pungent breath and a sigh.
So it's evening on another campsite then?
No, I think it's evening at a hotel.
Okay.
Yeah. Ideally one by a stream or something.
Let's assume that you stop at a town with a decent sized river in it, and there is a hotel that overlooks the river. What more can I do for you?
We'll pull out a legend. We'll check in under a different ID, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fine. I suppose one thing I want to use up one of Harrison's complications, though, because as you go into the hotel, you can see a news story running about the terrorist attack in Strasbourg 2 days ago, and police are seeking to identify the people involved, and there is a person of interest who was seen around the location the day before, and there is a photo fit picture that in a bad light could look like Harrison Blake. Apparently a policeman had cause to stop someone behaving suspiciously the evening before around the location of the attack, in which a Strasbourg book dealer was shot dead. Okay.
Okay. Seeing that, Harrison will sigh and go and get a pair of clippers from somewhere and start to shave off his hair.
I think what I'll do is I'll treat that probably as conceal if it matters. Yeah. So you're at the hotel. What is the plan for the following day? Because I'm prepared to montage this very, very swiftly through the following morning in terms of getting the lie of the land.
We want to find with the tunnel. So we want to survey the area, look at the local landmarks, and see if we can figure out, get within reach of both areas, line of sight, binoculars, all of that, and spend the morning seeing if we can figure out what might be a tunnel, what might correspond, so that we can go and investigate that. We don't know if it's necessarily the facility or the ruins, so we need to establish that.
Okay, so that's the retreat, the Kielberg retreat. You can see that access is by a bridge, but that's the posh access. There's delivery access. This is not a moat. The grounds disappear off the left of this photograph for several acres into light woodland, where the guests are encouraged to take exercise. There is a delivery access that comes in at the rear of the building. The bridge at the front is very much for kind of those people who formally arrive. It's a footbridge, but limos pull up over here to the right of the picture, and an access across there.
Here is my operation. If we need to get in there, here is my plan. I will have pulled together paperwork, essentially creating a 17, 18-year-old Korean young man who is ostensibly, according to the papers, suggesting that this is one of Kim Jong-un's illegitimate children, who is currently at a boarding school under a false name in Europe, who is has embraced the hedonism of the West, and is substance abuse and drug abuse and so on. And if we need to go in there, essentially the cover that I'm going is as a person who is checking out the facility to see if it would be appropriate for this highly placed young man.
Okay, don't give me any more than that at this point,
okay,
until that actually becomes an operation we're going to undertake. I want to make sure that we understand this is Schloss Glockstein, which is on the hill, on the steep side of the valley, overlooking the Kielberg retreat. So from the retreat, you can see the castle, and you're pretty certain that from the castle, you could see the retreat. And if I understood you right, you were going to look around the castle for any sign of mine workings? Because you found some evidence that there was a mining disaster. This is around the back of that old castle, and this is the remains of the mine workings from the early 1800s. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm seeing you in this scene, at this location. Is that okay?
I mean, yeah, I don't think we'd settled. I don't think we'd 100% settled on that. But
Oh,
we will.
sorry. Okay.
I think that would certainly be my vote, is to check out the castle first, because then we can overlook the thing as well.
Yeah, and you guys are both good at observation, so.
Yeah, as long as it's daytime. That's my major point. It's daytime when we go there.
It's certainly daytime.
Yeah,
it's quite a bright morning.
cool.
With the trees and the rocks cast deep shadows where the sun shines on them. Just saying.
You're still sharing the screen.
So I am. There you go. Yeah, you will go to that location. You've got a tourist map, and there are a number of these kind of places. And the castle and mine and the old mine beneath it are on the tourist map. And indeed, there's one of those kind of boards that you find at places of historical interest, just describing what's gone on. And the mine was indeed the site of a terrible mine disaster, after which the mine was closed. A couple of dozen men were killed. And there is, in fact, recently someone has put a memorial plaque up on the site, listing the local people who were killed. What do you do?
Is there any way to access the tunnel that we can see?
I think as you go past the description board and then the memorial plaque, you will see this man walking towards you. And he says in German, he introduces himself in German, and his name, he introduces himself as Paul Stoeffel, and on the breast of his shirt is Kielburg Historical Monuments Society. What do you do?
I look over at you and Jung.
I will try to just strike up conversation, gentle. I make my German worse than it actually is, and speak with him about the area and so on, and ask about spelunking opportunities, caving opportunities in the area, that kind of thing. And it's not my thing, but my friends, they are very interested in going into caves.
And he'll pick up instantly that German isn't your first language, and in reasonably polished English, though heavily accented, he'll say, please, in English, I enjoy the practice.
And I'll switch over to that, and I'll be more fluent, pick up a little bit of the American accent, because of course I studied in the States, I say. I'm just going to try and do the soft pedal, get info. If either of these people suggest things in my earpiece, we'll bring that up.
Okay.
I would like to suggest that we ask. Sorry.
Yeah, let's see how the talk soft goes, shall we?
Okay.
And then, depending on how well that goes, that will determine whether we've got very much to talk about with Paul Stoeffel.
If it doesn't go well, I still have a couple of knives. Oh, fudge.
Well, I would note, for what it's worth, you impersonating Asian intelligence operatives is a discipline of yours. That would allow you to re-roll the blank if you think that's worth it.
That is a 50-50 chance, or it's a significant 30% chance of me making this worse than it already is, and I am not going to take that particular.
Could you not use your training?
I don't know. Could I?
I think so. Contacting Asian agents operating in Europe, I think that so you have lots of experience in Europe. I think you know how to approach Europeans. You could burn both of those.
Let's just start with the training. Burn that. I'm gonna re-roll these minuses.
One of the minuses.
Oh, it's one of the minuses. So I end up with then 2 minuses instead of 1.
Okay, and then
So 3.
is it worth invoking the discipline to re-roll one of the blanks on the off chance it gets you a plus, or you just stick with the 2 minuses instead of 3?
Is it re-roll any, but not re-roll all? On the discipline, it says anywhere above it says re-roll 1 for the training. If I do the discipline,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I think that is what it meant. I mean, we both think the rules are a little obscure sometimes. Let's assume that this is any and all.
Okay, so now I'm going to re-roll 3 blanks, and we know where this is headed. Just telling you that now. I end up with a plus, a minus, and 2 blanks.
Okay, so I think you could just use the plus to cancel it and just get nothing out of this conversation at all, or you can get something out of this conversation and a consequence.
Let's get something out of this conversation and a consequence, just to push things forward.
Okay, then I think he will tell you that that there are caves and mine workings here, but they've been sealed for nearly 200 years. It's far too dangerous for people to go down there. I think the complication is that as he's talking animatedly about this, he's put his bag, his rucksack down, and it just falls open slightly, and you see a small pistol inside.
Remind me about German gun laws.
They are as tight as they are in the UK and France, as far as I know. So he should certainly not be carrying a handgun. And I think even in terms of police, it shouldn't be concealed without special detail.
All right. I wait to see if they haven't seen it. How many other people are around? So muted. Take a drink.
Let's assume that you don't have any other complications to play with. I'm going to make it that there is no other innocent bystander in the vicinity.
Then I'm going to headlock him and try and take him to a locked position so we can get him off the beaten path.
Fine. Let's have you fight him.
Plus, minus, minus, blank.
In which order would you like to narrate this?
Let's make it bad at the start. So I'll take the 2 minuses at the start.
Okay.
I think I give myself away.
Yeah, he sees you coming.
Mm-hmm. And I think he turns, essentially he twists away from that, and that changes up the situation. And then if he has a blade or whatever, or even bringing the pistol down on the back of my head, he's going to do some damage to me.
For reasons of my own, he will strike you open-handed and do a point of harm to you.
Oh.
As this unfolds, Nadia and Harrison, it will be clear that this individual has had some training in unarmed combat. I'll give you that one for nothing, but let's finish the description. So, thwack goes the edge of his hand across the side of your neck.
Then I think there's a bit of us twisting around, and then I think the plus is I faint a little bit, and I'm going to break his dominant hand.
Fine, you do that, and
hoping that my companions will now help me out.
Yeah, well, let's finish this little sequence, this flurry of blows. So you've got a minus and a plus, and you've got a struggle and a minus. Do you want to finish with the minus or finish with the struggle?
I want to finish with the struggle.
Okay, so you twist his fingers on his right hand, and you hear one crack, and so that hand is now much less useful. But then he brings his left hand up and strikes you on the chin. So you've taken 2 stress.
Yep.
That could be physical or mental. You know, I'm very happy for this to just make you pissed off or stunned or whatever.
Well, what does a consequence do?
A consequence does nothing apart from the fact it's longer lasting. It has no particular narrative effect. Okay. It's just 2 more stress you can absorb with a descriptive effect. But normally a consequence will not be recovered in session.
Okay. Well, in that case, since I was going to be taking 2 stress, I had marked the extra one. I'll stick with 1 stress and the physical stress, and I think I'm going to take a mild consequence then.
Fine. Slightly discombobulated by the strike to your chin.
I bit my tongue a little there when he hit me in the chin, so I'm probably spitting out blood.
And I think that then we finish with you struggling, at which point, Nadia or Harrison, which of you will act?
Can Harrison try and lift the gun in the fight?
Nice.
He can certainly, yeah.
Can I roll steel for that?
I don't think you need to roll steel. I think what we'll do is we'll do this either as talk hard, i.e. are you aiming to threaten him with it, or shoot. And we'll judge how smoothly your attempt to get the gun and use it goes, depending on the outcome that you're aiming for. Yeah?
I think
it's your motive I'm after.
Oh, my motive is mainly to get it out of the... So you can't turn to it, basically.
No, fine. Then you can get the gun. You just can't do anything with it this round.
I can't do anything in this fight.
So Harrison has grabbed the rucksack and got the gun out. Nadia, what do you do?
I want to take one of the aerosol cans we prepared, which of course I mixed with the pepper spray and garlic. So even if it isn't a vampire, it should do some damage. And I'm gonna spray his face.
I think that's probably shoot, isn't it? I can't think how else we deal with that one.
I'll take that. Three pluses.
And he goes down in a heap, rubbing his eyes with his good hand and holding his bad hand to one side. He is at your mercy, Unjung. What do you do?
Mute.
My intent is to hold him, like I want to lock him down. We're both trained martial artists. I'm going to physically lock him down such that Harrison can rifle his pockets.
And as you lock him down, as he's trying to protect his eyes or deal with what's happened to his eyes and protect his hand, he's muttering Latin under his breath. Because you're a Catholic, you'll know that he's muttering some kind of Hail Mary. I'm not a Catholic, so forgive me. Any Catholics out there in Catholic land?
Well, I want to get what Harrison can tell me before I say anything to this guy.
Okay, Harrison, you've got the rucksack. What do?
I tip it out onto the floor and start going through it.
The pistol is quite old. I think that probably I need you to roll. No, I'm not going to make you roll for this because you've got 1 in no stuff. I think you'll identify this as a pistol normally very popular with members of the East German secret police before the wall came down.
Nice. I like that suggestion as well, because in Gumshoe, if you have a certain amount of points, then you don't have to spend them, right? So yeah. Cool. What's he doing with this Stasi piece of crap?
Does that influence your action, Njung or Nadia?
I look at Nadia. Nadia's a brain. Nadia knows. I mean, she's Norwegian. Maybe she has a better sense of this. I look at her like, what should I do?
So, do we know anything about this organization? About their with the secret police that.
Oh, the Stasi.
Yeah, the Stasi were about their connection. Any sort of connection to the.
I think that probably is no, because that's a bit more obscure.
All right, so plus and 2 minuses.
Your training could kick in here if you wanted it to.
Yeah, I think I'll re-roll one of those minuses. Okay, it's plus now. Yeah, so 2 pluses and 1 minus.
Do you want to use one of the pluses to cancel a minus, so you don't have a complication, and stick with just an answer to your question?
Sure.
Norwegian intelligence after the war was pretty confident that Unternahmen Braun, those bits of it that were left in East Germany, were taken by the Soviets, a bit the way that they took the rocket scientists and everybody else. And so nothing in Norwegian intelligence suggests that the Stasi per se had a connection to Unternahmen Braun. Is that okay? I'll let you ask me a clarification question by all means.
Well, we're not sure of his allegiance yet. So
I have an idea then. I think I'm going to lean in. I want to say to him, Markov, and see if there's any reaction. I say it gently. I want to see if he reacts to that at all.
I think that dramatic convenience requires him to go, "You know Markov."
Markov's dead in London. We're following the trail.
Oh, that his eyes go wide and they're tearing already, but you can see real sadness in that. She was a real bulwark of the church, he says.
She wanted to meet with us. We followed the trail to Strasbourg. And then from information we got there, we came here. Maybe you want to explain exactly what is going on this side of things. And I look around at Einar and Harrison in a way that says, keep your eye out for the person who's going to snipe us now.
Yes, typically your leads have not survived long, have they?
Yeah.
Paul Stoeffel tells you that he is a member of the Order Vampirus, the Catholic Church's supernatural agency, if you will, the Vatican's Men in Black. He served the Vatican in deep cover through the Cold War as a member of the Stasi, and that's why he still has his old service pistol. And he's been watching this place since he retired a decade ago, because he's now in his mid-60s, I'd have thought.
Well, congrats, John. You beat up an old man. So, Van Helsing, one of your lot then?
He was. And we came to understand that there was something significant here, but we didn't know what. Markov was supposed to have found something in the files of British intelligence that threw some light on what there was here.
Some sort of cachet that he's put back there in a tunnel. He said something that'll help against the Nax era. If you know what one of those is, we've made its acquaintance.
He didn't know specific. He doesn't know any of the specifics. All the word that came from Markov was that there was something here of value. Connected.
Oh no, I'm filling him in and
okay,
like just to see if
he can't confirm any of that.
Right.
He doesn't even know what a Nachrizer is.
But you've wandered around the area. If there is a tunnel that Van Helsing would have used.
Well, there is a locked grill across the mine entrance. But as the custodian of the castle site, I have the key. That would seem to me to be a good pause for another break, if that's okay with you all. Yeah?
Yep.
So shall we say it's exactly on the hour? So shall we be back in our seats at 5 past? Is that long enough?
That's fine. Yeah.
See you then.
See you then. So I hope we find something useful in this tunnel, and then can go straight over to the retreat and find out maybe the lair of whoever's pulling the strings. We can make our confrontation with Michael Shannon.
I hope it's technologically based, so that we can divvy up some of the.
Yeah, the absence of muscle suggests there has to be a way of doing this without actually going to two falls in submission.
Because I am already kind of beat up.
I'll wait till Einar comes back and I'll explain the operation. Here's Einar very self. The other piece of information that Paul can provide is that local legend says that the count who built the Kielburg chateau, for want of a better word, back in the 1700s, was fascinated by geology, and that he sank a shaft of his own into the copper deposits that the mine then in later years exploited. And there's all been stories about the mine being connected to the Kielburg chateau, which is now the Kielburg retreat. So I guess what I'm interested in is using you to define what are the obstacles that you will now encounter in this operation to penetrate these locations, and then if you look at the mechanics, you'll see there's a job clock arrangement. So what is the objective? I think we've got a fair idea where the operation is taking place, but what exactly is your objective in this operation?
So I suppose we're really looking. What we were thinking of as two discrete tasks, and now part of the same operation, is to go through the tunnel, see if there's anything there, and hopefully penetrate the retreat by the tunnels.
Yeah. So locate some kind of armament or weapon, or something of that sort, and then get in. Yeah, I think that's the two phases.
Yeah.
And I suspect phase 3 is, and then a miracle occurs, or more like, and then we can fight this thing.
So who wants to define the first obstacle that you are going to encounter? Because each of you will get to define an obstacle. I may determine whether it takes one or two or more actions to overcome, but what's the first obstacle? This is that montage when we imagine you planning this. Yeah. So what's the first obstacle you are likely to encounter?
Should really be something to do with the mine, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like the tunnels. So difficulty navigating the entrance into the retreat. What do you think?
Yeah, I think finding your way, locating the object. It's about using your knowledge and surveillance and that kind of thing.
Yeah, 111 years in the laying down, right? So it's been a long time down that mine.
So the first obstacle I'm putting in place is a physical one. It's dangerous and confusing tunnels. Yeah?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to give that, my first inclination is to give that, make that 2 steps. Perhaps one for confusion, one for danger. Yeah? What's the next obstacle that you will determine? Will came up with the tunnels. So Einar or Lowell, you should come up with the next obstacle that you're going to encounter.
So we're trying to find whatever Van Helsing left, right? Maybe there's like a secret. Maybe he left like some sort of, mechanism that would only make the his allies or the possessors of the letter or something able to access it. So some sort of code embedded in the letter that will we have to solve in order to get in.
So some specific code or key. Follow the carvings of Arnie Saknussen. And Lowell, the last one comes down to you and Unjung. What obstacle do you think you're going to encounter down there?
I think it's once we get to the end and we have to move in to the facility, it's a question of stealth at that point, because while they may not be on alert, there certainly will be eyeballs there at that point.
Can you be a bit specific about whether this is some kind of surveillance, or is this human obstacles?
I think a human obstacle, that there are people that are doing business or are living or carrying things out in the place, and we probably don't look like we belong off the top of our heads, so we've got to try to keep out of line of sight.
Okay. This sounds like this has gone beyond find whatever Van Helsing may have left, because I think now you're assuming that after that you're going to try and penetrate the retreat. Is that?
That's a good question.
We don't necessarily have to, but since the tunnels link up with the retreat, and
that is a question. We could get whatever Van Helsing left. We could get out of there, and maybe that will lead us to figuring out a way to deal with this, or we can go in hot.
Okay, let me suggest then that we deal with this first stage. I've reduced it to 3. I think dangerous and confusing tunnels, some specific code or key, and some guards or others in the tunnels. Yeah, and we'll see where that takes us. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So Paul can show you the mine entrance. He can unlock the padlock that seals the grate, and your flashlight will illuminate what was once, I think, probably a gentle track running down into the hillside, which would have been used for small trucks to bring, copper ore up. So that's the setting. It doesn't look safe. As the torch, at the end of your torchlight, you can see rotten and ancient wooden supports. This has not been used since the early 1800s. I love asking these questions in terms of non-D&D sessions. Who goes first? Which order do you enter the mine in?
I think maybe Nadia goes first.
Okay. Volunteers for second?
I will go second.
Okay. And then Blakey pulls up the back. Okay. Nadia, the corridor, the passage quickly begins to separate out into a number of different passageways. How do you decide which is the major one?
This is like indoors in a cave. It's probably a place where footprints last a long time, if they're here. So I think we'll probably look at the floor here and the walls as well to see if there's rock that's been smoothed down by people holding onto it, and just look for signs of people.
That sounds like surveillance skills to me, picking up small details. Yeah? So let's have you roll for surveillance to see how well this goes. It is mid-morning by now.
Okay, it's 1 plus and 2 minuses.
Okay, so you successfully make your way through these tunnels. But I think one of the complications yeah, I can't resist it, is that as you make your way deeper into the mine, you can hear a fall of rock behind you. And dust billows out of the darkness behind you. I don't think you're going to go back the same way. Okay? And I'll give Nadia an additional complication for me to use later if I need to. So I think we've dealt with both confusing and dangerous. The next step in your penetration was that you are looking for some indication. So what are you're looking for? Anything, something that would give you a clue. Now, based on the letter, based on anything you know so far, what are you looking for that might give you a key to where Van Helsing has hidden what, or his local oppo was asked to hide some stuff down here, wasn't he?
Is Paul with us?
I think Paul will have stayed at the top, but I'm perfectly happy for you to have a flashback scene with Paul, that if you have some specific questions that you might want to have asked him.
About the Ordo Vampiro's codes and practices.
Yes, a typical sign was the offset cross, so not upright, but just at an angle. The offset cross is the sign of the Ordo Vampirus.
Okay. So we keep a keen eye out for that among the mine. Would that be a surveil?
I think it is, unless you can come up with something different, Blake.
I mean, it's either one in surveil. I would maybe be able to argue that it's like a no to recognize it, to know intuitively kind of thing. But
yeah.
either way, it's a 1. So
it is about noticing stuff.
I get 2 pluses and 1 complication.
Okay. Do you want to cancel the complication and just get 1 plus, or do you want to play with both pluses?
I mean, you told me
rain today or rain tomorrow?
I mean, I will get rid of the complication because you told me the vampire is powered by complications. So.
And there are plenty in the system already. Yeah, fair enough. So that is 1 plus. Yes, you find there's a couple of old tools just leaning against the wall beside an upright. And as you look at them, one of them has been wedged in behind this upright post to create the impression of an offset cross. And if you examine that, you will find behind that post a battered bag, a kind of old doctor's bag. And in the torchlight, you will see the initials in brass inlaid letters, AV-H. What do you do?
We open it up.
I say, I think that probably Nadia and I should take a look at this and open it very carefully. I have a background in theft, and Nadia has to work mechanical things. So I think the two of us will take a look at this before we flip any switches.
Then I think probably that is Nadia using her fix to get some sense of what's in there before she pops the catch. Yeah?
All right. Yeah, 2 pluses and 2 minuses. So I guess I'll cancel one of the minuses
and take the other one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's deal with the plus first then, I think. What do you find in here? Okay, you will find some wax spheres, about a centimeter or so across, and you will find a rotted bandage. You will find a very ancient kind of lamp. It looks like it would have been it's one of those ones that has a kind of carbon, gap carbon, that like old limelight used to be. But that's well gone, I think, in terms of usefulness. What appears to be a 3-part spear that can be fitted together. And I think Norwegians, in my experience, are very in tune with the outdoors. And so I think Nadia will identify this as the kind of thing that might have been used for hunting boar. Yeah. So it's got a big kind of crossbar on it to stop the boar getting close once you impale it. And a bag of coins, which in the torchlight they look very old indeed, and though vaguely tarnished, still have the glint of gold. There are a dozen coins. Yeah. And finally, a rusted and blunted, but probably still usable, turn of the 20th century, or turn of the 19th century, I suppose, surgical saw.
Well, I think you should take the spear, Yuan Jung. You look a bit handy with this, a bit tasty.
That seems appropriate. Who wants the saw?
Well, I'll hold on to that. Nadia's got the gun, you've got the spear. Once you've dealt with it, I'll get my hands dirty. Don't worry about it.
I make no mention of the machete incident.
Okay.
Looks like Van Helsing was a practical man.
So here's the question. We certainly got the goods to deal with this vampire. Do we want to go into this facility, which is likely not entirely vampiric?
Well, we're not getting back out the way we came.
Oh, yeah. I think then, much as I am loath to say this following words, I think we have to wait till nightfall to go into the facility.
It won't get any darker than it already is in here.
Yeah, let's at least we'll get to the far end. I mean, we'll see something, but we want as few people as possible moving around when we go into there. I don't want to stab like Billy Crystal or some other celebrity while we're there. I don't know why I said that. I'm just scared.
Yeah, the Billy Crystal reference went over my head, I'm afraid. But so that sounds like you're going to push on a little way at least, or you're just going to sit tight.
Yes. Push on a little bit.
Okay, and I think that at a certain point, because you're professionals, Nadia's a professional, her flashlight is angled down so she can see her feet, but isn't necessarily flashing it up ahead. You will see the glow of electric light around a corner in this mine working. What do you do?
I ready my spear. You're muted.
Yeah. I think that probably you can see something is casting a shadow out of the side passage where this light is coming from. What do you do?
I would like to stealth forward so I can get eyes on it.
Well, go ahead. That sounds like move quietly to me, or infiltrate.
Yeah, I will go with infiltrate since I have done that. What is conceal used for?
I think that's probably everything from disguise to hide stuff.
Okay.
I think I'd use it if you were pretending to be somebody else.
Right. Let's go with infiltrate then. Two successes and a complication.
Well, your infiltrate is 2, so you succeed.
Oh yeah, so a success. Yeah.
Yeah, so you succeed. The complication is that there is indeed an armed man before what looks to be a retrofitted steel door of some description beyond him.
And he has does he have a glint of intelligence in his eyes? Does this look like a beast?
No, this looks like a guard. What are you doing, John? You're at the sharp end.
No, I think he's at the sharp end. I think I will swap to knife and attempt to Gurkha throat cut him.
Then that is fight. So you come around the corner. You wait for that moment when he's turning, perhaps to light a cigarette, and you rush him. How does it go?
It goes 3 successes.
So not only do you take him down in 1, that's 1 success. What 2 advantages do you want at the end of that seamless attack?
Down in 1, super quiet. Hey, look, some sort of key pass or indicator to how to get this door open.
And I will give you, I'll give you quick and silent as just 1.
Okay.
Right. So the second one, I think, is the key pass. There's a digital lock, a swipe lock on this steel door, and there's a small kind of porthole in the door, and through it you can see what appears to be almost clinically white corridors.
Can I hand that last advantage off as like a morale boost to Harrison, having seen me do this with a deathly precision?
I think that's fine. What we'll work out what old Harrison's going to do with that.
So Harrison sees me step up, do that quietly, drop them, and kind of looks at you and does that wink, like, okay.
Yeah. Who needs Bez anyways? Got Young Junk.
When you've got Unjung, the silent killer. So I think it's probably time to add another 3 obstacles. Now, what is your objective here? Is it to find the Nachrazor and kill it, or something else?
I think it's to find the Nachrazor, but our secondary objective, if we have a bonus, is to find that girl. If they brought her here.
Eva Haflich. Fine. Yeah. So find and kill the Nachrazor is top priority, but as a secondary, you'd really like to see if the girl is here, and if so, escape to rescue.
Does that seem okay, Einar? Will?
That seems good. I'm just wondering about the potential. We come here, we kill the vampire, we escape with the girl. Big damn heroes, right? But But are we also maybe like, find the next level of the conspiracy? You know what I mean? Like crack the case slightly?
My hope is that she knows something.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Hopefully she does know something.
Okay. Well, would one of you like to volunteer an obstacle you are going to find on the way to this?
Can I volunteer one?
Yeah.
Electronically locked doors.
Fine. Electronic locks and security.
I think another one is that this place is like complicated, like it is a labyrinth in some ways. So that if someone has maybe looked at the floor plans or can assess the architecture, we need that to be able to make our way through.
Okay. Labyrinth of rooms. Fine. What else? What does Nadia think she's going to come up against?
I want there to be some like potential collateral damage here, so people not actually involved in the conspiracy.
So risk to innocence. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I like those. So you can through this first door. But before I let you go through that door, I will tell you that you can see that there are cameras at intervals down this corridor. Electronic security is in place. What do you do?
Harrison peeks around the corner and looks relieved to have a problem that he can actually deal with rather than a vampire or a guard or anything. And he goes, right, my time to shine. And he will pull out a laser pointer, blind the first camera around the corner so that it can't see him as he approaches it, and then he will splice into the hard point beneath it to gain access to the system and hack into it.
That sounds like hack to me.
Yes. I'm just trying to narrate it in a way that isn't just, he taps rapidly at a keyboard like it's CSI Miami. And you know what? I'm going to spend my trademark. I'm going to get 4 positives on that.
That did something very strange then.
Yeah, it did. I got 2 successes and 1 complication. Then, so as it finished, it changed to 3 complications.
Do you want to roll that again? Because that was very strange.
It's been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, it's been doing that.
Oh, is it? Oh, well, fair enough then.
It's been doing that weirdness. I had it changed earlier.
Okay, well then we'll live with the final result then. So so you've changed. Are you going to go for all pluses?
I'm going to go for all pluses because this is clearly the point where Harrison's actually going to do something positive.
Well, I think what we've got is this system is your bitch.
Yes, yes.
You own this system now on that little 6-inch tablet of yours. And so I'm going to give you 4 advantages to use at any point. Yeah. So the first one, I'm assuming, is that no one is going to see you on a CCTV.
Oh, yeah, no. We're going to know where, control of the CCTV system, effectively.
Oh, right. Would you like another advantage to be that you can see into some rooms?
Oh, yes. I would like to have 2 advantages. One advantage to be no one will spot us using this, and the other advantage to be we have the version of that little map you get in video games where you can see the guards and things like that going around.
I think if we're not careful, that was because you've spent your most special. I think you ought to be able to overcome a couple of these obstacles. So I think the labyrinth of rooms is now laid bare in front of you. And the third, so 1, they can't see you. 2, you know your whereabouts. 3, you can see into a couple of rooms. And what I'm going to tell you is that in one room, you will see the Nachraiser pacing up and down in incredibly bright light from all angles, so there is no shadow being cast. And in another room, you see a young woman sedated on a gurney of some description, with what looks like an IV line or a blood transfusion line. You're not sure which. Okay, does that seem like a sufficient outcome for 4 pluses?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, so you know where both those locations are on the basis of your map.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to tell you, you can also see, as across some of the other cameras, a variety of people. They look like scientists. They're dressed in lab coats, of course, and a selection of armed guards. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, Nadia, you're at point, I think, unless Unjung's taking over there.
So I'm wondering if we can see sort of on the floor plans or on the cameras here, if there is a room that would be suited for sort of setting a trap in case the thing comes after us. Some sort of room with the 2 exits, so that we can sort of flee and alert through one exit, and then trap it in the room as we exit the back door.
I think you're talking about a bit of corridor, actually.
Yeah. Something we can rig.
You can close a door behind it and leave a door you can get out through.
Yeah, then if we could set up some sort of trap there, some sort of tripwires. Maybe we can set one of the.
I mean, before you get too embroiled in this, if you want to do that kind of trap, you do it here. Because the idea of doing that on the move as you make your way through this, I think, is going to be tricky. Because that will take you some time. And while Blake owns the system, people are moving about those corridors.
Can you do it to back me up when I go in with the spear?
Yeah. Are we going boar hunting?
Yes. It's the only way to be sure.
I don't suppose you brought any plastique.
No.
No, I mean,
not my bag.
The joys of a cinematic obligation is that if Nadia needs some explosives, then of course she has some explosives.
Yeah, because I'm betting we've got garlic, running water, beans, having his head cut off, coins, and I reckon blowing it to high hell would do the good job as well.
And the final observation I'll give you is that there is at least one elevator. There is a lift, which is disgorging what looks like patients from from upstairs. So off you go then. And I think that probably the location of the Nachraiser is just beyond that lift, which is disgorging some patients from the retreat upstairs. Because some of the other rooms you saw were things like mud baths and spa rooms and the like. So there's a crowd of innocents outside the Nachraider's door. And there's somebody on guard outside that, obviously not explicitly armed, but you are prepared to believe that they are armed. What do you do?
Somebody needs to draw that guard off.
Now, who's equipped to pretend to be a damsel in distress, I wonder? Clutching her boar spear.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is I need to be ready to go in to do the boar spear.
I could try patching into their radios, looping a bit of dialogue back from one of the other guards, and seeing if I can get him sent off somewhere else.
That'd be great if you do that. Then Nadia and I can go after the thing.
I think that's probably, well, I think it's more hacking, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I
Go
could have
for it.
just given him nothing but hacking. And 2 successes, 2 complications.
I think that gives you a success. You can cancel one of the complications with the other plus if you want to.
Yep.
And that gives me a complication, which is that what Unjung and Nadia see as you type that in is he heads off following the crowd of innocent bystanders, but then stops and he's tapping on the. It looks like there's a limited window. Unjung, what do you do?
Are you ready, Nadia?
Yeah.
Then I think I just slip up into position, pop that door. I know he's described the position to me, and I'm going to. Also, I've distributed coins between Nadia and I, and I am going to throw that open and stab from the pit of hell. Stab at thee.
Fine. And I'm assuming Blake is down around that corner monitoring this. So let's have you fight Unjung. Let's have you charge the vampire.
Okay.
In this brightly lit room.
Hopefully I can do it fast enough before the any shadows form. But we've also got garlic, aerosols back up. Okay.
And Nadia, I think, is sliding into the room after you and just closing the door.
So that is 2 minuses and a plus.
Okay. How do you want to narrate that? Because clearly,
I think I stab at him, but between the lights and the stress of this, I'm going to take 1 mental stress.
Okay.
With that first minus, and a physical stress for the second one. Like he gets a good, hack bite at me, even as I dig that. There's probably the blank is the first, sort of in the middle before I get that spear into him.
Fine. That works for me. So that's 2 physical, 1 physical, 1 mental on you, and a stress on him. Nadia, what do you do?
Yeah. So as Unjung is sort of thrusting that spear into the vampire, I'll be rigging one of our traps, sort of just just behind off to an angle, so that Unjung can sort of have a clear path of escape. But it's a sort of I think it's sort of a makeshift bear trap. Sorry, you're muted.
Some kind of wire loop.
Yeah.
That you're hoping that you can maneuver him into. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So let's treat that as your fix, Nadia.
Okay. That's 2 pluses.
Oh, great. So you succeed, and you have an extra advantage. So he is now tethered. I maybe you've looped the wire around one of the light fittings that's illuminating this room to avoid any shadows forming, and so he's tugging at this with his leg, which gives you an advantage to play with, I think, Unjung.
Then I think that I'm going to count on. Now I got to get the coin in his mouth, so that's job 2. Even if that means putting my hand in his mouth, I'm getting that coin in his mouth.
Okay, so I think this is probably, well, you tell me. Fight?
Steal. I'm a sleight of hand artist.
Yeah, fine. Let's use sleight of hand. So what does that sleight of hand look like? Because I imagine now that you've lodged the bow spear in him, are you going to have to kind of let him come closer?
Yeah, and I think that is the thing is as he pushes back, I think it is almost like I pull a coin out of his ear and then flick that in his mouth as he roars.
Okay, let's see if you can get that in his mouth. Well, what could possibly go wrong?
Plus and a minus. I will keep the success and take the complication.
Okay, I think the complication is that as he's pulling on that wire that Nadia is anchored, because there's not many anchor points in here, that light comes away, and now is dragging around the room, whereas the wires spool out of the wall, flashing this light around the room. But you do get that into his mouth, and because it's your speciality, I'm going to have him swallow it. Yeah. Blake, what do we see you doing while this is unfolding on a window on your tablet? Because that guard seems to have confirmed that was not intended for him, and he's now walking back up the corridor towards the door behind which the Nachraiser is being confronted.
So, I had a vague idea, which is playing the church bells down the radio to all the guards. Because if the Nachraiser goes after the people who've heard the church bells, then it might be more tempted to go towards him than to the rest. But I don't know if that's worth me doing.
Might freak the guards out.
You know what? It's something to try, isn't it?
Yeah, because otherwise all I can think of is just a variation on the same thing I just tried, and I prefer to do something.
Yeah, I think this is much more cinematically exciting. So we see a lot of guards that, you know, the red light's flashing and they press the button, it goes dung.
Yeah.
Dung. I won't make you roll because I just think it's cool. Unjung, you've got the coin in his mouth. Nadia, he's pulling away from that snare, and this light is now flashing around, causing it's now not equally illuminated. Shadows are flickering around the room. What are you going to do?
Yeah, we should try to cripple this thing. I'm going to maybe no, I'll shout to Unjung for her to try to get the wire tangled around.
Look, Unjung's got her hands full. This is down to Nadia. What is Nadia going to do?
Well,
there's a cinematic imperative at work.
In that case, I'll go ahead and fire up some of our good old garlic spray.
Unleash the garlic. I think that again is probably shoot.
Okay, that's 3 pluses and a minus. Let's cancel out the minus.
So you succeed, and you get an extra advantage, which is, I am going to say that the Nachraiser is temporarily incapacitated. What do you do, Unjung?
Well, I gave away the bone saw, but I
No,
still got
I mean,
that
the
machete.
rules of dramatic, the rules of drama mean this bone saw is wherever it's needed.
Then that bone saw, I apply bone saw to what passes for vampire flesh, and begin sawing with a maniacal energy. Muted.
You've got him pinned down at the top half of him as you're sawing through the neck, but his bottom half is still free. What do you do, Nadia?
Yeah, so
He's still got leverage in the bottom half of his body.
yeah. I am going to just sort of try to tackle him. No.
So throw yourself across his legs to stop him moving about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, fight.
I went surprisingly well.
3 pluses. He is
Nice.
held still. And that, I think, means that the head comes away, not in a spray of blood, but in a kind of trickle of black ichor. And the body begins to crumble under you both. You see this happening. The guard is back outside that room. Blakey, what are you going to do?
So the playing the bells didn't work in terms of scaring them off. Like, I was hoping that it would make them panic at the idea that it was coming for them now, perhaps.
I think the difficulty is that it's probably above their pay grade what those bells mean.
Yeah.
There are some very shit scared senior executives somewhere in the building, though.
Yeah. What am I going to do? You know what? I'm going to go with an old favorite, and I'm going to hit the fire alarm.
Yes, off the fire alarm goes, and the corridor is filled very quickly with a number of patients streaming out, wrapped in blankets and in towels, and wearing very, very comfortable dressing gowns. And they're all streaming towards the emergency exit stairway, which is next to the lift shaft. What are the 3 of you going to do?
We got to get a go.
I back whatever Harrison's play is.
And she is 2 doors down beyond the Nachraiser. There is a guard outside there, but he's helping people get up the fire escape, as is the guard who was outside the Nachraiser's room. What do we see you doing, Nadia and Unjung?
I think that I'm following up. Nadia, do you want to handle the guards outside, or do you want to get the young woman out?
Yeah, I think the time for knives and saws is over. Let's use some bullets.
In that case, then I am going to get the young woman out of that room.
Okay, Nadia, you step out of the room. The 2 guards and the crowd of innocent bystanders that you so pleasantly put in your way are in the corridor. You need to take the guards down without killing innocent bystanders, perhaps. Take the shot, Nadia.
And all right, yeah. So well, I guess I'll just keep it. 2 pluses and 2 dead bystanders.
You take down 2 of the guards and 2 innocent bystanders. The world is a millionaire and a top model shorter than it was before. and they're screaming panic, and people are just crowding into that stairwell trying to get away from the gunshots. Unjung, what do you do?
I get that door open and I'm going to yank that woman out of there. Like, oh my God, there's a mad woman with a gun. Let's get everybody out.
She is sedated. So I think we see tiny Unjung helping tiny Eva Haflich up the corridor. Are you going out the way that the celebrities are going out? Or
Oh,
are you going...
absolutely. What is happening on here? It's terrible.
Fine. Now I'm conscious it is 5 to the hour. And so I am inclined to say that we will cut straight to just an epilogue scene or scenes. Because clearly you have killed a Nachreza, you have Eva Haflich. Who wants to tell me what we see either immediately in the aftermath or a little while later on? It would be good to start close to the action and work out rather than backwards.
I think it's me getting her out. There's that montage of all the chaos going on out there. We float along with the people as it goes across that footbridge, and then it's a certain point at which, when she's starting to wake up, I break off, and we see the camera cut over to our VW camper that I am hustling her into. Getting her to safety.
Can I suggest it's driven by our German friend who's sat in the car waiting for us outside?
Paul Sturfield is in revving the engine. Who wants to go next, Nadia or Harrison?
Yeah, so it's sometime later. I think we've found another nice camping spot, and the others are in the van debriefing the girl, and I'm outside, finally taking that call to Eva.
Nice.
Yeah, Nadia has been the human center of this throughout.
Nice.
That call. Thank you for that. And what about Harrison? What do we see Harrison doing after these events?
I think that we see Harrison with a scratch pad on a computer with a scratch pad next to him, filled with information from Eva. And he is cross-referencing thing, and then up flashes on his screen is a picture of Michael Shannon, and then a bunch of information flashes up alongside it, along with like bank account details and all kinds of like random bits of information linking up, basically. And he's like, "Got you, you son of a bitch!"
Yeah, the strange thing is that the bank account details go back to 1901.
Of course. Nice.
So, and with that, I think finished.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you have a couple of minutes just for some feedback, some roses and thorns, or are you on the clock?
I am on the clock because I have a brief window between this and running to go get dinner. So let me just say this: super fun time. I like this. Will Einar, great to play with you. I'm sorry if I was pushy. I know sometimes when we get into planning games like this, I tend to push my agenda. So, but I had a great time playing with all of you, and I want to do it again because I really like this. So I'll definitely be on the lookout as it will fit with my schedule, and I will see you all. I gotta go.
Thanks, Paul. If you have any thoughts after the event, feel free to message me.
I will absolutely do that. Thank you.
Thanks for being such a great, generous player.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye now. Okay then. Roses and thorns. Einar, do you want to kick off with any roses?
Yeah, this was really fun. Thanks for sort of getting us through what was really a very satisfying second session, I thought. Yeah, I was going to say thank the other players for sort of setting me up, setting Nadia up for success at the things she was good at. I thought was in general very well sort of balanced group. We the spotlight was shared well, I thought.
Thanks for that. Will, any roses?
I love the whole Knights Black Agents thing, and I think this scenario and the way you've worked in the pursuivants again and all of that, it's good. I like it.
They have to crop up.
Yeah, yeah. I like the shared the pursuivant-verse, the pursuiverse. But yeah, I like this system. I think that it's certainly got legs for doing like NBA style games and things. I think it's a bit easy to just end up doing the one thing that you're good at over and over again, and other skills, like the way that the ones work, right, is that you tend to like they all overlap, so it's kind of makes no difference what you're rolling at the end. And I will say I'm not a big fan of the fate dice because they are cruel. And I feel like every time you attempt something, you end up just getting loads of complications stored up, which in theory would, so I had like 5 complications, right? You could completely like reverse every single success that I do by just introducing them in, like the police guy in the store, right? Like I can't do anything because I can't overcome the complication. So I'm not sure how you balance that out, but I do like it.
Yeah, I mean, before we get on to more thorns, because I've got some thorns about the system as well, I think. Yeah, I mean, no, I think that it's given that we had a 2-shot, I think that you were all playing into the archetypes as we kind of discussed last time. So there is the hacker, there is the shooty analyst, and there is the kind of surprisingly aggressive young woman. So yeah, and I thought you played into those well. And given the time constraint and framework, I think you did as much as you could with that. My thorns are about the fate dice, because I was trying to spend complications like fun this time, and still I've got 4 or 5 in hand, and that. So I don't know whether I'm imagining complications are bigger than they ought to be, or whether I shouldn't have stored so many up from last time. I don't know which. I think the next 2-shot I'm running next week and the week after, I've learned something from this that I'll try and apply there. So that's my thorn for the system. Any thorns outside of that, Einar?
Yeah, no, the main thing is that the 3 skills just feel bad, just feels like you're just making things worse by even attempting them. So yeah, maybe making the complications a little bit more or a little bit less punchy would fix that. Maybe making them more like narrative flair. I really like the fight system, so sort of missing that with the other skills for the sort of back and forth narration. Maybe you could work that into the other skills as well.
Yeah, maybe the way to play this is to have you narrate the complications that the GM then kind of approves or not as being appropriate. That might be the way to go, actually, because I think it would share the narrative, the cognitive and narrative load a bit. So that's quite a clever idea. I like that. I might give that a shot next time. Will, any other thorns?
It mostly comes from having read Knights Black Agents and having a bit of familiarity with Gumshoe, is how you can play like the spy better with the use of like preparedness in Gumshoe, where you can have this item all along in your back pocket, right? And that you can spend things like tradecraft and stuff like that to be like to be prepared. Like retroactively, like the sort of hold one in Monster of the Week and spend backwards.
Actually, I've just remembered a rule I didn't apply. If you check out the mechanics, every player has a flashback during the operation.
Yeah, I was going to.
Yeah, and I
was going to use that one.
I've forgotten all about that, I must say. I think the pressure of time in a two-shot means that there's not much opportunity for repriming specials. Because in theory, you can opt for a flashback anytime you like. And you can also make use of the symbol, for instance, to get some stress back in play. So I think that probably with a bit more time to breathe, some of those subtleties might come out. I will admit I was rushing that operation to get you done, really.
Yeah. I did really like the operation idea, the obstacles and the...
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised, to be honest, that you didn't pick obstacles that were more obviously linked to your strengths. Because I think the system assumes that, for instance, that Unjung, as the disguise artist, for want of a better word, would put an obstacle in which was all about needing to be somebody else. You picked up on that because you used the security and electronic.
I just couldn't think of a way to hack the tunnels.
Yeah,
tunnels.
Right.
Yeah.
And I suppose, again, given a bit more time, I'd have dropped more breadcrumbs about actually you need to get to the retreat, and the tunnel is a means to an end, not an end in itself. But at that point, I wasn't sure we'd get as far as the retreat. But so yeah, I think it's got mileage. I think that there is something about both the limitation. You're right. If you got a 3, in effect, you're saying this is something I will use only as the absolute last resort, because the chances of you succeeding is itsy weeny tiny whiny. And I don't know if I think it's Kyle Simons, isn't it? I don't know if Kyle's intention was to really focus you on the 1s, and then the 2s become your backups, and the 3s become, I'm not going near that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
So the original game is like Special Forces, right?
Well, no, it's any operators, anyone with a mix of skills. So, the book is full of examples from the CIA. They're all American. So they're everybody from the CIA through to the NSA and Delta Force.
Just because I was thinking that if I was to build like the optimal character for actually like doing things, I would probably be less specialized and more broad. Like I would have at least something in a fight skill. I would have something in a, rather than like all be in the knowledge skills, right? And like I would make sure that nobody has an overlapping one, really, apart from maybe shoot or fight. So that we can like not have to send the same character off to do all of the fighting, because the other 2 of us will get absolutely murdered in a close quarter, or what I mean? Like it feels as though it'd be good. It'd be more. It works better if you're like part of like a squad who are all roughly similar in core skills, and then have a little tiny specialization each, rather than playing the kind of like super spies that we did, where you are, I'm the hacker, I'm the brains, I'm the disguise artist, and I'm the muscle. Because it felt like,
I think, given that it very much puts its stall out as being cinematic, almost every action adventure there is the specialist. Unless it's military sci-fi or something, where everybody can do a bit of everything. Marines.
I mean that you get a specialization, but you are all like, everyone carries a gun. You know what I mean? Like you're the medic in the combat squad, you're the hacker in the combat squad, you're the whatever, right? But you can all do those action scenes rather than being like back end kind of thing.
Yeah, I in the end, I think it'll come down to individual player choice, won't it? I mean, you can do that.
Yeah, it just in terms of I mean that's just tying back to how punishing having a 3 in things is. In terms of how useless you can be in the narrative.
I think that's what I'll make clear to the next set of players, is that if you choose 3, I'll just remind you, that means you get to need to throw 3 pluses on the dice to succeed, just to succeed. And maybe that'll make them think a bit more about, scattering the 2s and 1s differently. Because I added no, I don't know whether I should have added no as a skill, because it's not in the original rules. And if I do, I don't know whether I should give another 1 or another 2 in the distribution of skills. I don't know.
I like no. I like no as a kind of mental everything, like jack of all trades sort of thing. Like you either know it retrospectively, or it could be that you flash back to like research that you did. Yeah. And that's like maybe your dice rolls for things are in like flashbacks to what you did previously rather than the game at the moment,
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, Kyle, in his advice to me when I suggested doing this, was that I didn't need no, but I had cold feet, I have to say, because I think there is something about being able to give you the kind of clues that I was able to give Nadia around the powers and weaknesses and Nachreza. I can't see how you're going to get that in this game without no. His view is that you just come upon a file, in typical action hero style. That feels a little bit gimme for me.
I think Night's Black Agents in particular is more about like finding out the conspiracy rather than necessarily like blowing it all to hell and back. Whereas like maybe Operators is more in line with the kind of like lock and load, like we found these guys, we're going to take them out, we're going to race around in jeeps and things like that. Whereas I do think those are. So did you use the same number of stat distribution and then added a skill?
No, I added a skill and didn't change the distribution. What I'm suggesting is that I need to put an extra 1 in or an extra 2. And to pretend this is Night Black Agent is to do Night's Black Agent down as a game. Yeah, you won't get NBA out of this, but I can't imagine running NBA online, I have to say. I think there's too much to track. It's just too complicated. So I think with more judicious highlighting of flashbacks for the prep and stuff like that, and maybe a bit of tweaking around the skill distribution, I can't see I'm going to get much better than this to get it to the table, to be honest. I thought about Action Hero World, but no.
I think an extra 2 would be the one rather than an extra 1.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Anything else from either of you? Sorry, Einar, we've rather dominated that conversation.
No worries.
Because that's been very helpful for me. Good feedback. I will incorporate some of that in the next 2-shot in preparation for the series of 4 in the autumn. Because I think a 4 will give me a bit more breathing space, something like this.
Oh, one thing I did mean to say is that the 3, your training, discipline, and trademark, it's very easy to make them all overlapping. You probably want them to be a bit varied. Yeah,
I think you're right. Because you discovered that last time, didn't you?
Yeah, and also in terms of like Yun Jung, for example, NSA Cuckoo contacting, impersonate agent, and maybe drill down to like the abstract of what that represents. Like she's good at impersonation of anybody. She's good at like, rather than being specifically, I can contact Asian agents in Europe. It's like networking or whatever, Yeah,
I think that's about interpretation of fate aspects, really.
Oh yeah.
So, I think it's about making clear to the players that I'll listen to argument, as the judge would say.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to stop the broadcast because we've gone on for plenty of time. So let me end the broadcast, and hopefully it will have recorded.